Hi, and welcome to the Inspired Podcast, Leading the Way in Education. I'm your host, Andrea De La Cerda, and each week I'm bringing you insightful discussions and news about changes in the landscape of education and entrepreneurship. As a 22-year entrepreneur, corporate executive, business coach, and leader, I mentor a community of change-making women to get out of their box and step into their true calling to make their biggest impact. I believe that increasing conflict in the world today is a sign of the need for systemic change and a call for authentic, feminine power and passion to help make that happen. Today's episode is inspired by a recent conversation I had with a friend over coffee this week that really got me thinking about a topic that might spark some interesting discussion with the men in your life. He's been navigating the dating scene for several years now and has now found a serious partner whom, by the way, I love. She's kind, funny, smart, and absolutely perfect for him. But he brought up a question to me that he has surfaced actually several times now over the years of our friendship. Having been brought up with traditional family values and a traditional view of men and women's roles in a relationship, he shared with me that it can be really frustrating for him when he does things like open the door for a woman or walk on the street side of the sidewalk or any of these other chivalrous actions. Because sometimes the action is met with disregard or even worse, annoyance, as if she might be thinking, I can open my own goddamn door. He's brought this up more than once, enough times that it's come in the conversation again and again. He tells me that he's learned to respond more or less by saying, let me do this for you. It makes me feel good to do things like this for you. Most women, he says this to, then stop. They think for a moment, and then they say thank you, giving him permission to continue his chivalrous action if it means so much to him. And every time he mentions these stories, it seems to surprise him again and again that women seem to be pushing back. Now, granted, all relationships, personal, professional, and otherwise, require a level of communication and compromise. We know that. But how do we know as women when we're taking the compromise too far? As if it's time to someday just call chivalry dead. Now, I know some men and women are listening to this and probably yelling at me to stop being so woke. But hear me out. As a communicator and an educator, I want us just to consider the conversation and give women on both sides of the argument a chance to weigh in, as well as provide an opportunity for men to listen. After all, it takes two people to feel seen and respected in their communication. This year, there are several opinion articles that I came across that are really on both sides of the issue. But even if chivalry isn't dead, most agree that it has definitely evolved. And what's the most interesting is that most of the articles that I found on this topic happen to be from student newspapers, which really actually tells me a lot, that a lot of the young people today are in tune to this topic and want to talk about it. According to this week's article, actually in the Berkeley Beacon, it seems to consider both sides. It says, quote, we're seeing men now transition out of their role as the dominant pursuers. This shift in the dynamic may uplift women and allow them the unique space to now be the chasers, but simultaneously giving men the out when it comes to establishing themselves as a partner in general. Interesting. And then a recent article in the LA Loyolan, which is the LMU student newspaper, gave another student's perspective, saying, quote, the courtesies associated with chivalry should be extended to everyone, independent of romantic or gender context. So let's talk about this. Then how does this concept of chivalry affect the way that we interact in the workplace? An article I found in the Economic Times does a great job of breaking it down. And by the way, all of these resources can be found in our episode notes. But let's take a look at some common questions and see if you agree or disagree. Okay, let's start. So here's the first question. Who pays for a business meal? According to the Economic Times, the person who invites the host pays. Who stands when greeting, shaking hands, or exchanging business cards? Answer: both men and women should stand when meeting and greeting their business associates. Here's another one. Who holds open the door? The answer: the person who reaches the door first holds it open for the one following. Doesn't matter gender. Next question. Who should carry the heavy bag or the equipment? Answer: a person of either gender should offer to help his or her overloaded coworker. Again, doesn't matter gender. Who pulls the chair in a restaurant? Answer: neither gender is expected to help seat the others. However, both genders are expected to help the elderly or people with physical disabilities. Again, unrelated to gender. Who exits the elevator first? Answer: the person closest to the elevator door. Yes, obviously. Question: is a man expected to give his seat to a woman in a bus or a train? Answer: only if she's pregnant or elderly. If the conference room has less chairs, who pulls in the extra chair? The answer: the person closest to the door pulled in an extra chair. And last question, are women expected to escort male visitors to the office elevator? The answer is yes. It's common courtesy and, by the way, a safety measure, as it ensures the visitor has exited the office premises. All of this seems pretty logical and pretty straightforward if it were not for this gender dynamic that we've all become accustomed to. I mean, chivalry in the business world today includes speaking the truth, fighting for justice, and displaying honesty in all of your dealings. And it's also about showing sensitivity and consideration for everyone, no matter what gender. When it comes to what people believe about chivalry, and despite the best intentions of men, case in point, my good friend, these issues are really a slippery slope when it comes to progress for women. Issues of equality in the workplace are really critical to building a strong and safe workforce for all of us. Women in the workplace statistics show that 55% of women in senior roles have experienced sexual harassment. That's more than half. Some subgroups where women have reported sexual harassment show even much higher numbers, and sexism in the workplace statistics confirm this. More than 1/3 of the women in the corporate sector have been victims of sexual harassment. More than 1/3. 48% of them are homosexual, and 45% are employed in technical fields. And what's more, quote, 20% of women are mistaken for junior employees. This statistic blows my mind. And I shouldn't be surprised because I found myself in this position so many times. It goes on to say, to work in a high-level position and to be mistaken for a junior employee might be flattering at times, but not if this happens on a regular basis. The chances of being mistaken for lower-level staff are twice as high for women than for men. Discrimination against women in the workplace statistics indicate 64% of women face microaggressions at work, with their opinions and ideas disregarded and their judgment and expertise questioned. As a woman who was in a high-level corporate position for many years, I can 100% attest to this, which is part of the reason that I will never go back. And I don't believe that I'm alone. According to McKinsey's 2023 Women in the Workplace report, the workplace is a mental minefield for many women. Women who experience microaggressions are much less likely to feel psychologically safe, which makes it harder for them to take risks, pose new ideas, or raise concerns. Obviously, right? That seems really logical. If you put yourself in that position, man or woman, you would feel the same. The stakes are just too high for them. And on top of this, 78% of women who face microaggressions self-shield at work, or in other words, adjust the way that they look or act in an effort to protect themselves. They're 3 times more likely to think about quitting their jobs and 4 times more likely to almost always be burned out. When I think back on the questions my friend is considering, my sense is that you can't think about gender roles anymore in personal relationships separately from the professional workplace. Our lives often seamlessly move from the personal to the professional today. Women don't have different identities at work and at home, and they frankly should be treated with respect and dignity in all settings of their life in the way that they want to be treated. So this is an opportunity for men to listen and learn when it comes to the future of chivalry. And all respect to my friend who believes that he's doing the good thing about being respectful. At the same time, she may not see it the same way. We'll make sure to include all of our resources in the episode notes today, and I'd really love to hear from you about today's topic. Maybe you agree with me, but perhaps you don't. I know this is a controversial one. Follow us, please, on social media or send me an email to let me know what you think. Let's keep the conversation going. It's really important to remember that the bottom line is that all people deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. And that is not in the way that you interpret it, but it's being sensitive to how they want to be treated. So let's throw the traditions out if it means a safer, more progressive community for everyone. And that's all I have for you today. By standing up with confidence and dignity, you not only empower yourself, but set a powerful example for others. Thank you for joining us, and let's continue to create respectful and inclusive workplaces together. Tune in next week for another new episode. Take care. Thank you so much.